Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah. Asyhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Asyhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Hayya 'alas salah. Hayya 'alas salah. Hayya 'alal falah. Hayya 'alal falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La
يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كلام الله، وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. My dear brothers and sisters, all praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All praise is due to Him. We thank Him, we rely on Him, we seek His forgiveness, and we ask Him to shield us from the evils of our souls, and we ask Him to cleanse us and purify us from the sins that result from our very own deeds. Whomsoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides, no one shall be able to misguide. And whomsoever Allah azza wa jal leaves lost or astray, no one shall be able to guide. I testify that there is no other God, there is no other deity worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I testify that Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam is the final prophet and messenger. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون. It is He who sent His messenger with guidance and the religion of truth, the only true religion, so that He can make it dominate over all other forms of religion, even though the disbelievers may hate this. I remind you that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, O you who have believed, fear Allah as He should be feared, and do not let death catch you except in a state of complete submission to the will of God, or as Muslims. So maintain a life of submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that when your time comes, which it will come to everybody, you are already in a state of complete submission to the will of God. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says in the Quran, O you people, fear your Lord. Fear your Lord who created you from one soul. And from that soul He created its mate. And from both of them He dispersed so many men and women. And fear Allah through whom you interact with each other. And respect the rights of the next of kin, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon you is constantly observing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says in the Quran, O you who have believed, fear Allah and speak only righteousness, so that He may reform your deeds and forgive your sins. Whosoever obeys Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has definitely achieved a great achievement. I would like to remind you and remind myself that the most truthful of all words is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the best guidance is the guidance of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And the worst matters in deen are heresies, innovations, and introductions of new things into their religion that we did not learn from Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam or his followers. All these heresies lead to misguidance, and misguidance leads to the fire of hell. As we all know, Ramadan we just got through another month of Ramadan. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from every single Muslim their salah and their dua and their siyam and their qiyam during that month. This time after Ramadan, I like to think of as a postgraduate time, as a time that the Muslims have graduated from the school of Islam. It is the biggest school in the world, the school of Islam, the Madrasah of Islam, the school in which Islam teaches you and shapes your character. That school is also the oldest school. This is the first school that was ever known to mankind. And the first campus that was ever built in the school of Islam was the house of worship in Mecca, Al-Masjid al-Haram. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, إِنَّ أَوَّلَ بَيْتٍ وُضِعَ لِلنَّاسِ لَلَّذِي بِبَكَّةَ مُبَارَكًا وَهُدًى لِلْعَالَمِينَ. The first house of worship that was ever founded for the people is the house of worship in Mecca. مُبَارَكًا إِنَّ أَوَّلَ بَيْتٍ وُضِعَ لِلنَّاسِ لَلَّذِي بِبَكَّةَ مُبَارَكًا وَهُدًى لِلْعَالَمِينَ. It is blessed, and in it there is guidance to mankind. So, the school of Islam is a very old school. The students of this school are nothing other than, the best students are nothing other than prophets and messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They learned directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا ثُمَّ عَرَضَهُمْ عَلَى الْمَلَائِكَةِ فَقَالَ أَنْبِئُونِي بِأَسْمَاءِ هَؤُلَاءِ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught Adam the names of all things, as the Quran says. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has praised many prophets and messengers with this blessing that they learned from him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Yusuf about his prophet Yaqub alayhi salam, وَإِنَّهُ لَذُو عِلْمٍ لِمَا عَلَّمْنَاهُ وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. For he is indeed of great knowledge, of which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught him, but the majority of people, they don't know. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the Archangel Gabriel to Prophet Muhammad alayhi as-salatu was-salam, the first thing he said to him, in Ghar Hira, he said to him, Iqra. He said to him, recite. Read, recite. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Recite in the name of your Lord who created. خلق الإنسان من علق. Created human from a clinging object. اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. Recite, and your Lord, the most generous, who taught with the writing tool or with the pen, and he taught the humans that which they would otherwise not know. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one who founded this school, the school of Islam, the school of submission to the will of God, the school of submission to the will of Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is described in the Quran as his one of the attributes. It says, Al-Alim, the all-knowledgeable. The all-knowledgeable. So, alhamdulillah, after the month of Ramadan, this period after Ramadan is a period of post-graduation for us Muslims. The entire year we're learning from Islam. The entire year we pray. But during the month of Ramadan, you can call it, if you will, the month of finals. We cram up so hard. We stay up all night praying extra. Throughout the year, we recite the Quran. A lot. Some of us recite the Quran daily, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us all among them. But during the month of Ramadan, we go an extra step further, and we recite the Quran even more, on a bigger scale, and sometimes we finish reciting the entire Quran in the month of Ramadan. And the Quran is nothing except a book of guidance, a book of teaching. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. This book, indeed, there is no doubt about this book, it is guidance for mankind. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about the month of Ramadan in the Quran, He said, شَهْرُ رَمَضَانَ الَّذِي أُنزِلَ فِيهِ الْقُرْآنِ هُدًى لِلنَّاسِ. It is the month of Ramadan in which the Quran was revealed as guidance to the people, as guidance to everybody, as knowledge that will lead you to guidance. So, in the month of Ramadan, you can call it the month of finals, if you will, and we go through this period of cramming up and getting ready as if we're getting ready for the hereafter. And after the month of Ramadan is over, we notice that there are usually two kinds of people. There are two kinds of people that go through the month of Ramadan and come out on the other side. There are the people that have really taken advantage of this month. These are the people that have done everything in this month as should have been done. And these, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to them as al-muttaqeen. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Fasting has been mandated upon you like it was mandated upon those before you so that you may achieve taqwa. So those who take advantage of the month of Ramadan, they have achieved taqwa. These are the students of honors. If you consider the bigger example that I was talking about, that Islam is a school, is a big school, and throughout the journey of your life, it shapes your behavior. It shapes your character. So, at the end of the month of Ramadan, if you have achieved this taqwa, you are among the students of honor to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this taqwa is achieved by taking actions. It is not something that will happen to you if you're sitting down not learning from Islam. If you let Islam guide you, if you let the knowledge you learn from Islam guide you and shape your character and shape your behavior, then you're going to achieve this taqwa. This is the first kind of people. The second kind of people after the month of Ramadan are those who have not learned and have not taken advantage from the month of Ramadan. They're still greedy. They're still rushing towards this life. They leave the prayers in the middle of the night and they go maybe to some party or go out with their friends. They leave the recitation of the Quran during the month of Ramadan and they waste their time watching useless shows and watching and listening to useless talk, and they don't take advantage of this month. What happens to these two groups of people is after the month of Ramadan, during the time of Eid. The first group is the group of al-muttaqeen. You find that these people, they have this overwhelming sense of joy and happiness during the time of Eid. This overwhelming sense of joy and happiness during the time of Eid. And I'm sure as I'm saying these words, some of you may remember a brother or a sister during the time of Eid that their faces are so bright and beautiful. They have spent the nights up praying in Ramadan. They have fasted as not just from food and water, they fasted from idle talk. They did not get angry, they controlled their desires, they controlled their anger. They did not insult anybody. If somebody harassed them or got under their skin, they were patient. So they exercised patience, they exercised all the characteristics of taqwa. And at the time of Eid, this first group of al-muttaqeen, they have this overwhelming sense of joy and happiness. The other group, on the other hand, to them the day of Eid is just like any other day. It is just like any other day. Because they have not taken advantage of the month of Ramadan. They have not taken advantage of the teaching of the school of Islam. They were not able to submit themselves to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were not able to submit themselves to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Islam. So they entered the month of Ramadan exactly the same way they exited. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are not among these people. So, my dear brothers and sisters, the month of Ramadan, the just past, is an opportunity for us to consider this life. You learn in the month of Ramadan that you only need a little bit of food to survive. You don't have to rush in this life to become the richest person or to become the most famous or the wealthiest. You don't have to do that, because in the month of Ramadan, among the things you learn is that with little bit of food you can survive and be happy. In the month of Ramadan, you learn about giving. This school of Islam, the graduates of this school of Islam, they are the best graduates on the face of the earth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, كُنْتُمْ خَيْرَ أُمَّةٍ أُخْرِجَتْ لِلنَّاسِ. You are among the best nation that was produced for the benefit of mankind. In the month of Ramadan, the school of Islam graduates doctors in patience, engineers in giving and kindness, people who have master's degrees in good manners, people who have PhD in unity and getting together and doing everything together, praying together and fasting together and reciting the Quran together and doing everything together. The School of Islam graduates people every year. Millions and millions of people graduate from this school every year after the month of Ramadan, and they learn what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches us in the School of Islam. And what helps is that this school, it doesn't need money. You don't have to pay anything for tuition. Admission is only guaranteed based on one condition only, and that is the condition that if you testify that La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, you're already admitted in this school. This is the only condition for admissions for this school. Once you say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, you're a student in this school, in the School of Islam. So the first group of al-muttaqeen during this month, they have achieved all these things. They have achieved, they became more patient. They became kinder people. They became more united with the body of the ummah. They became more focused on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards them at the end of this month with these overwhelming feelings of joy and happiness and peace and tranquility during the time of Eid. And this is a sign, my dear brothers and sisters. This is a lesson for us to learn. And the lesson is the month of Ramadan is nothing except a small version of this life. The month of Ramadan is nothing except a small version of this life. If you live this life in general, like you lived during the month of Ramadan, focusing on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, focusing on controlling your desires, focusing on praying and focusing on God, and instead of focusing on this world, then your Eid, your actual Eid, is when you see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your actual Eid is when you see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the hadith of Abi Hurairah in Sahih Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ was quoted saying that the fasting person enjoys twice, or rejoices twice. The fasting person rejoices twice. He has 2 times a big rejoice. The first time is when he breaks his fast at the end of the month, during the time of Eid, and the second time is when he meets Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the lesson we learn in the month of Ramadan is, if you live this life like you lived during the month of Ramadan, then when you pass away, which you will, when death comes to you, which it will come to everybody. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. Every soul will have a taste of death. No one is living forever. When death comes to you, those overwhelming feelings of joy and happiness that came to you during the time of Eid are exactly what is going to come to you when you see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but even more of these feelings. Because you have lived your life the way those muttaqeen lived their lives during the month of Ramadan. You have focused on the right things. You have learned the lessons that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to teach you. So, my dear brothers and sisters, the message that I would like for you to understand today and focus on is this whole life is nothing but a few days, just like a month of Ramadan. It is just like a month of Ramadan. It's just a bunch of days, a bunch of weeks, a bunch of months. You are patient during those days. You're patient. You're patient through these days in your life where people are maybe ridiculing you because you're Muslim, or pushing you, or demotivating you. So you maybe take off your hijab, or shave off your beard, or stray away from the education and the knowledge that Islam instills in you. But if you're patient through this life, then after we die, inshallah, we're expecting and we're looking forward for these overwhelming feelings of joy and happiness as we go to our judgment and as we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I say this and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness for me and you and all Muslims. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم فاستغفروه وتوبوا إليه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين سيدنا محمد. All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, peace peace and blessings be upon the Messenger of Allah. There's a weak narration. There's a weak narration of the cousin of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu. Even though this is a weak narration, we learn a lot from this narration. He says like this. He says, this world is only for three types of people. This life, this world is for three types of people. Or there are three types of people living in this world. The first type, he says, Alim Rabbani, a very godly scholar. A godly scholar, somebody who has a lot of knowledge. They know about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They know about the hereafter. They know the purpose of this life. They know about the scriptures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They know the hadith. You go to them when you're stuck in a problem and you tell them, Sheikh, I need guidance. I'm going through the situation. I need guidance. They'll always have an answer for you. And they'll always reference this answer from the Quran and from the Sunnah and from the scriptures of God. And you feel very good when you go to these people because they guide you. This is the first type. Alim Rabbani. The second type is Talib ilmin ala sabil al-najat. A student or a seeker of knowledge who's trying to save himself or herself. A student or a seeker of knowledge who's trying to save himself or herself. So this is the person who's always trying to seek knowledge, who's always trying to learn from the school of Islam, who's always going to those who are more knowledgeable than he is or than she is, and asking for guidance and asking for new knowledge in order for him or for himself or for herself to save himself or to save herself. And the third type, he says, is ignorant hooligan people that just follow whatever is consistent with their desires, and they're very lost in this world. So there are three types of people. A very godly scholar, a knowledgeable person. The second type is a student or seeker of knowledge who is simply trying to get on the right path, who's seeking guidance. And the third type is somebody who's ignorant and kind of hoodlum. He basically just follows whatever is consistent with his desires. Now, my dear brothers and sisters, in Islam, we are supposed to learn throughout our journey in this life. We are supposed to learn and let Islam shape our behavior so that when death is coming to us, we are on a straight path. So that when death comes to us, we are on a straight path. So one of the things that I learned in this Ramadan that I would like to share with you is 3 pieces of advice. If you keep these 3 pieces of advice until next Ramadan, you have definitely benefited from this last month. The first piece of advice is remember that this life is nothing except a handful of days. Ayyam al-ma'dudat. Just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, Ayyam al-ma'dudat. It's just a handful of days. This is the first piece of advice. So be patient. If people are demotivating you because of religion, or people are ridiculing you, or that you are going through some kind of test and trial, to test your faith, be patient and have faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and do that which Islam teaches you to do. The second piece of advice, pick a few habits, 2 or 3 habits perhaps, that you learned this last Ramadan, and make a vow today to keep them until next Ramadan. Say, for example, praying Qiyam after Isha. Make sure you pray Qiyam every single night until the next Ramadan. Or reciting of the Quran. Make sure every single day you recite some Quran until next Ramadan. Or helping somebody in need, helping a Muslim, remembering a Muslim. This last Ramadan, you were helping people prepare iftar or suhoor. You were helping so much in the masjid. You were volunteering. Keep this act until next Ramadan. And if there is absolutely nothing for you to do to somebody else, to another Muslim, at least remember to make dua for Islam and Muslims. At least remember to make dua for Islam and Muslims. The point is, do not stray away from the body of Islam. Do not stray away from the school of Islam. So keep some habits. The second piece of advice is keep some habits that you learned last Ramadan until next Ramadan. And the third piece of advice is remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mandated that whatever you practice, you become better at it. So when you go to the gym and you work out, for example, your muscles become better. Your muscles become bigger or stronger. Same thing physically and spiritually. So when you practice things that purify you spiritually, you become better spiritually. Your ruh, your nafs becomes better. When you practice patience, when you practice giving, when you practice kindness, when you practice good manners, when you practice holding your anger back, when you practice these things, your soul, your spirit becomes better. So keep these three pieces of advice. The first one is remember and be patient, because this life is nothing except just a little bit bigger Ramadan. And the Eid, inshallah, is in the hereafter. This is the real Eid. So the first piece of advice is remember this. The second is pick a few habits you learned last Ramadan and keep them until next Ramadan. And the third is remember to start to take initiative on some spiritual acts so that you can purify yourself spiritually. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we have benefited from Ramadan, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our prayer and our qiyam. اللهم إنا نسألك باسمك الأعظم الذي إذا دعيت به أجبت وإذا سئلت به أعطيت أن تجعل القرآن ربيع قلوبنا ونور صدورنا وشفاء لما في صدورنا وذهابا لأحزاننا وهمومنا. اللهم علمنا منه ما جهلنا وذكرنا منه ما نسينا وارزقنا تلاوته آناء الليل وأطراف النهار على الوجه الذي يرضيك منا. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. اللهم اهدنا واهد بنا واجعلنا أئمة لمن اهتدى. اللهم أعز الإسلام وانصر المسلمين. اللهم أعز الإسلام وانصر المسلمين وارفع بقوتك كلمة الحق والدين. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم وزد وبارك وانعم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وعلى كل من تبعه إلى يوم الدين. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. إن تنصروا الله ينصركم ويثبت أقدامكم وإن ينصركم الله فلا غالب لكم فانصروا الله ينصركم واشكروه يزد واسألوه يعطيكم واشكروه يزدكم. وسبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. وأقم الصلاة إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
استووا واعتدلوا سدوا الخلل. استووا واعتدلوا ولا تختلفوا. ساووا صفوفكم ولا تختلفوا. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. وإذ قال ربك للملائكة إني جاعل في الأرض خليفة قالوا أتجعل فيها من يفسد فيها ويسفك الدماء ونحن نسبح بحمدك ونقدس لك قال إني أعلم ما لا تعلمون. وعلم آدم الأسماء كلها ثم عرضهم على الملائكة فقال أنبئوني بأسماء هؤلاء إن كنتم صادقين. قالوا سبحانك سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم كلا إن الإنسان ليطغى أن رآه استغنى إن إلى ربك الرجعى. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله